Sampola. I'm Karmasunam Chojan, and today we are right in front of the La Meridian for the launching of Asian Development Outlook for the year 2022. Before we head inside, I'd like to give you all a brief insight of what actually is Asian Development Outlook. The Asian Development Outlook is a series of economic reports for the developing member nations of Asian Development Bank. The ADO features an assessment of economic trends and prospects of the world and for the developing economics of Asia and the Pacific, economic profits, economic management issues for the developing member countries of Asian Development Bank, and a theme chapter covering important issues confronting the region.
Well, the Asian Development Bank, each year it prepares the report Asian Development Outlook, which looks into the performance, the economic trends of all ADB member countries in the Asia-Pacific region. This is ADB's flagship report. In April of each year, the main report comes out. It looks at 2-3 different things. One is the regional economic forecasts and analysis, then country level forecasts and analysis. So for each country, including, for example, Bhutan, there will be a separate chapter. Then as part of this regional economic trends, you see they also analyze some topical issues. For example, this year they have done an estimation of to what extent losses due to absence of schooling, learning losses due to COVID, how they have affected different member countries of the Asia-Pacific region. They have tried to split it up in terms of rich and poor people within a country, between males and females. Then also each year as part of ADO, there's also a theme chapter. This year's theme chapter focuses on the potential for tax reform, so that all countries, governments which have been battered by, COVID and their revenue has gone down drastically, how can they shore up their domestic resource mobilization through tax reforms? Also, one thing I'd like to point out is in September, again, ADB will update this ADO. So that's the cycle, and these reports are very useful for policymakers, for media, for the general public to get a handle on how the region, individual countries are performing. I think I must begin by pointing out that Bhutan must be one of the fortunate few countries where the school closure was far shorter than in most other countries, like India or Philippines, other countries of the region. And part of the credit for that, of course, goes to the very strict, COVID control measures taken by the government. But that said, the 2 years, you've had about, I think, cumulatively maybe about 4 months of lockdown and so on. So how do you rectify these learning losses? Now, in all countries, digital education is kind of put forth as one of the solutions. Indeed, it can help, while, children are stuck at home, if they are able to join online, it does have some potential. But we must remember that this presupposes that the child belongs to a family which has a certain level of income, that the family is able to afford a good laptop or good Wi-Fi connection. It also presupposes that the school where the child is studying, that school has internet connectivity, stable Wi-Fi, that their teachers also know how to teach online, because it's not an easy thing for a teacher who has been used to teaching in person in front of his class to suddenly switch to online. Also, for online education, the nature of your material that you are teaching will have to be modified. There are many challenges. So digital technology is one way but there are no easy fixes. Suppose the child, parents are unable to help him or her with the lessons. So, unfortunately, the pandemic, has posed this huge challenge. There are really no easy answers. I think the only way forward, and I think government of Bhutan has already done that, is very, very high vaccination coverage. And now the government has also, is undertaking vaccination for 5 to 11-year-old children. So based on this, children can go back. Of course, there will be some cases and so on, but, given this high vaccination, we can feel confident that, the symptoms will be mild. So I think the sooner we all come back to in-person learning, the better. But digital education has its advantages, and I'm sure going forward, schools will be using it in a nice mix along with in-person schooling.